Good afternoon. It's MJ again. Uh, no, I thought we'd chat about a couple things. A few things I've been noticing online that I'd like to discuss about about influencers in the manosphere, if you will. Red pill, blue pill, and maybe we'll even get a little bit into what's now known as, these black pill. Nefarious group of people referred to as black pill. And it still baffles me a bit of why this is even a thing. Why is it that what human beings have been doing for literally thousands and thousands of years is become troublesome? All right. Why is it that people are having a hard time getting things together? I'll never understand. But what I would like to discuss is use a little bit of critical thinking when we're listening or watching, however, our favorite YouTube influencers. I think it seems that in some respects we live in this age of cult of personality. People are emotionally invested in the feeling, or the temperament, or the excitement, or the zeal of a message. They're more emotionally invested in the appearance of things than the reality, or or anything that's actionable. And I think I would like to talk about a few things, or give some perspective, in my opinion, anyway, of things that I think we really, really need to start paying attention to. I think we need to be careful by critically assessing what's being offered compared to what's actionable. Now, the first thing I'd like to address is, are we getting their interpretation of something? Is it true? Is it false? I mean, if somebody says, let's just say they're speaking in very universal terms, all women, or all men, or they tacitly mean that by just saying women and men without clarifying, the caveat by, using the universal particulars as of some, do this or do X or are X, and so on, or whatever. Is it true? Are they committing a fallacy, perhaps? Fallacy of complexity. One is just like the whole. Whatever their experiences are, their anecdote, right? Well, I've known women, or women with, like I've heard people out here say, women with tattoos. Women shouldn't have tattoos, or women with tattoos these are just markings and symbols of their trauma, or something they've been through, or some gang they've been with, or something like that. That's a very broad, hasty generalization to even suggest that all women are victims, or have engaged in some type of whatever, just based on their tattoos. And then quite the opposite says that, it's okay for men to have tattoos. This is kind of a rite of passage, and so on, or whatever. All right, make up what you want, right? Is that necessarily true? No. Is it a preference that they're offering? And if it is, could they be better at clarifying whether it's a preference or not? Yeah, I think they could be a little bit better at that, but typically they're not. And importantly, is there anything objective that we can get from this? Like, what are we learning from this? Whether it's their anecdotes, or their personal stories, whether it's their preferences, whether it's women with tattoos, women without tattoos, women that are size 4 as opposed to women that are size 16. Okay, to even suggest that all men should all men's preferences should be wrangled into this single category of, let's just say, 5'4", 110 to 15 pounds, dress size, whatever, and have these lists of traits and characteristics that go with it. If we do that, we're not really much better off than the women that we lament about by saying, I want a guy that's at least 6 feet tall, 6-pack abs, 6-figure income, drives a Jag or whatever the case is. Moving on, another thing that I've noticed, which is very odd to me, is I think we should be very careful about people who are quick to diagnose. Now, unless it is mentioned in their bio, or if it's preferenced in the conversation, which I have never, or if, let's just say, if I was to be charitable, I would say I've rarely heard it, and that's if I was paying attention. Someone who would say, hey, I'm a mental health professional, or I work in the mental health field, and so on, whatever, because I've seen far too many of these YouTube influencers in the manosphere, very quick to jump to judgment, to diagnose somebody with, schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, or any other type of personality disorder, so on or whatever. And I've noticed the people who are doing this, from the reading that I've done, at least in their background, have no expertise in this field whatsoever. None. Zero. And they flagrantly do this. They don't cite any sources of saying, hey, what I've witnessed, in my opinion, on what I've witnessed is this, and this lines up with what it says in the DSM-5 or something like that. Or this is what some of the experts in psychology today are saying about this type of thing, and this is how these types of things manifest, or people present with mental illness and so on and whatever. That should be, I think we should be very, very cautious of that, because especially when people are opening, some of these influencers are opening their salvo with this person or this girl or whomever is crazy. She's got borderline personality disorder. So you're already committing a fallacy by poisoning the well. At least, we should anyway. I know not many people are good with informal logic, but you're already poisoning the well. I already know where you're going with this. I get it. I get it. You got a line to toe. You're selling a product in many respects, even if you're not one of these people who have like a supplement line or link to their other business or something like that. You're not selling, I don't know, fold up furniture or whatever. I don't know. But I think we ought to be careful about people who are quick to diagnose. People who use some of these influencers who use their experiences as a reason to diagnose. Oh, I was on a date with this girl, or and this happened or whatever. It must be, schizophrenia, or it must be major depressive disorder. I'm willing to bet if I challenged any of these people on what the F codes were for any of these symptoms that people say they're identifying, I bet they couldn't even give me one. Not even a general one, like, F29, unspecified psychosis or something like that. But for people to use their personal experiences with no expertise in this given area or field, I think it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous that we take their advice in this respect anyway. Maybe not other respects, but in this respect, and it can be troublesome. And I don't think it's the correct way to try to gain some type of understanding. And I think it's an incorrect way for them to try to get their point across. It's a dangerous form of rhetoric, in my opinion. Influencers, also moving on, influencers who state their position, whatever that may be, and however they deliver it, as doctrine. This is the way it is. This is, let's just say, so to speak, this is the laws of nature. But, in this world, there's, 9 billion people, half of which are women in this country. There's, 330 million people almost half of which, or a little more than half of which, are women. You can't possibly have every experience with women. Generally speaking, most guys, you're dating the people in your area. Now, because of social media, you might be able to reach out to a few states across the country, or maybe in other countries, and out of all the people who do this, I'm sure there's a handful of people who might be able to make that journey or make that trip. But by and large, most people, I would argue, or imagine anyway, at the very least, are meeting people locally in their area or not too far away. Maybe the next state or something like that. But to make that broad category to say that, hey, this happened to me, therefore, if you do it this way or the way I did it, therefore it will happen to you, regardless if the results or the turnout is good or bad. It doesn't really matter. And also moving on, I'd also like to address, in a critical analysis, is there any philosophy behind the rhetoric? Like, where are they going with this? I'm not. And the interesting part is, a lot of the stuff that I hear from some of the manosphere guys, I actually agree with. They make some very, very good points. I think the late Kevin Samuels was really, really good at exposing the hypocrisy in a lot of the women that he was speaking with. Notice I said I didn't say in a lot of women. I said in the women that he was speaking to. Now, you can make a general inference and say, well, I'm sure there's other women out there like those women he speaks to. Sure, but you don't really know or have any idea unless there's some study that says, women want this or most women want that or whatever, of how many women there actually are in that category, just like the women that he was speaking to. But let's just say we were to assume and take for granted for a moment that, many of the women out there, or even if all of them are like that, whatever. But to say their opinion is necessarily the foundation of what we all should be following. I don't know if that's a good philosophy to follow. It still comes back to it's more anecdotal than anything, and I think we should be able to do better than that. Also, are they speaking from a bias or a position? I bring this up because at the age of social media, just like the news, we used to have the days of Walter Cronkite, where somebody came on and just came on and just told you what happened. And people thought, or still think, that was a better way of getting our information. Now, the news is more editorialized, where there's left wing, right wing, and everybody in the middle, giving their particular perspective, which I don't have a problem with, as long as the points are argued from a position, which is a set of facts, rather than a bias, which is bullshit. Same thing has happened on social media. We used to go to magazine articles about dating, or we used to go to maybe some social science journals, read about how people make connections and stuff like that. And we would get our information from somewhat of authority, an authority figure on these issues. Now, because of social media and platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and so on or whatever, that genre has been editorialized by us. We give our position or our bias on the dating scene, or whatever it is, the politics or the economics of whatever is happening in the moment. So I think that if somebody is arguing from a set of facts, and what I mean by that is something that we can verify, something that we can at least check, or at least somewhat comparable, and say, okay, this seems to be a trend, this is reliable. Obviously, there's a study on it somewhere, or maybe some theoretical framework that we can refer to, or something like that. Okay, fine. Okay. But if it's just from a bias, meaning, i.e., your position, or your bias, or your experience, or something bad that happened to you, or your preferences, I think that's what I was looking for. I think we should be a little bit, not cynical, but skeptical, somewhat dubious, and, let maybe hear them through, but try to look at it through the lens that this is what this person went through. That doesn't mean that that's what I'm going to go through, because our set of circumstances, let's just say between me and this other guy, right? Even if it was with the same woman, we're approaching this from maybe perhaps two different aspects in life, right? I may be somewhere in life that he's not, and vice versa. So our experience with that girl or girls or whomever is going to be, I would imagine, it's going to be a bit different. And lastly, before we wrap up here, what is the goal? And how do we identify it? Like, what are these guys looking for to do this? And this is, I mentioned it just tacitly or tenuously earlier. I would argue a lot of this is not necessarily so much to get the word out, but to make money. Why wouldn't you want to make money at this, right? I mean, this is the information age. All you need is a camera and an opinion. And I'm not much different. I mean, me personally, my mission in this is not necessarily really to make money. To be quite honest, I'll let you in on a little secret. This whole red pill, blue pill manosphere thing is really not my thing. My background in education is more in things of politics, economics, philosophy, stuff like that. A little bit of law. I have some teaching experience at the college level. But this area has been introduced to me fairly recently. I mean, I've always been somewhat aware of it, but I find it fascinating because I would still couch this somewhere in the social sciences of how people behave. But I still say the goal, and that's my goal. My goal is to better understand. And if I can offer just a few pieces of whether it's opinion, advice, what have you, and come on here and just say a few words, I'm satisfied with that. But I would argue most people, I think in the background, they're selling something. I've noticed some influencers, even in their videos, if you look in the background, they got like a stack of supplements, pills, lotions, potions, boner pills, potions that do this and I don't know, whatever, pheromone stuff, or I don't know. or they're selling advice. It come to my channel to get the free stuff, but if you book me for a consultation on one-on-one, I can walk you through whatever problem you're going for, and these are what my rates are, and this is how long our sessions will be, and so on. And mind you, many, if not, I don't know about all, but many of these people aren't licensed therapists or anything like that. Like I said, do they have any expertise in this field? Or are they just guys that really got like a really good hook with this stuff? They managed to tap into a particular market and they're basically just selling their opinion. I don't know. I would leave that for you, the viewer, the interlocutor, to decide. Maybe whoever it is that you're following carefully and maybe even slavishly. Do a little bit of research into their background about who they are, what their expertise is, and, if they're, vet them a little bit. I'm not saying you gotta go all out, but I think if you're going to be giving up your hard-earned money, I think you need a bit of information before you, just take some of their advice just wholesale, just as it is, off the cuff. But with that said, I will see you in the next video. There's a couple other things that I would like to talk about. Kind of somewhat related, if only tangentially to what we're talking about now. And I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.